What it do, YouTube, and welcome back to the Solid channel where we be checking out all types of video on this channel, bro. Today, man, we're gonna be checking out Mike Tyson, bro. And some of the fighters that I would not want to fight, Mike Tyson is at the top of that list. Like, let's be real. I'm not getting, like, I don't even want to talk to this man. Like, I'm being honest with you. I don't want to talk to him because I feel like I might say something that might, you know, upset him, and I don't know, I wake up in a hospital. Like, I don't even think I would. Let's just be honest, man. I'm gonna be real with you. But, man, we're gonna check this video out and see exactly what's going on, man. I hope y'all guys do enjoy these videos, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button and subscribe to this channel if y'all do enjoy the content, man. But let's go ahead and get into this one and see what's going on.
The baddest man on the planet is a saying reserved for the unanimous heavyweight boxing champions. But lately, it's mostly used for UFC heavyweights. However, there was no person on Earth who embodied the baddest man on the planet more than Mike Tyson in his prime. Iron Mike was dangerous for everybody around him, both in and out of the ring.
He knocked the sweat off that nigga. Hold on. He knocked the sweat off
Tyson in his prime. Iron Mike was dangerous for everybody around him.
Look at that.
Both in and out of the ring.
Just...
How good was Mike Tyson really? What are some lesser-known details about his career? And how does he fare in the boxing GOAT debate? Find out in the rest of the video.
I think he's second. And only because Muhammad Ali, the way he moved, he was just slipping.
Upbringing and start of boxing career. Tyson grew up without a father in a rough neighborhood, but he wasn't in any way violent or problematic. He was a plump kid who wore glasses and was often teased for his pitched voice and was once sexually abused as a child. Yeah. All Mike cared about was his flock of pigeons, which he fed every day. At the age of 11, Mike was already really strong, and when an older kid killed one of his birds, he snapped and beat up the bully, which finally earned him respect in the streets. That's when everything changed in his life, and he used that newfound reputation and joined the local gang. By the age of 13, he got arrested more than 30 times, mostly for theft and violence. He'd probably end up dead or in jail if it weren't for Bob Stewart, who was Mike's counselor in a correctional facility.
Hold on,
Stewart was a former amateur boxing champion who saw potential in Tyson and persuaded him to channel his raw strength into boxing and not beating people in the street for money. After a few months, Stewart introduced Tyson to Cus D'Amato, who will soon become the most important person in Mike's life. D'Amato was a celebrated coach who trained former heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson and light heavyweight champion Jose Torres. But he was also an aging coach who had already turned 70 and wasn't going to be hired by a championship caliber fighter anymore. And that's why D'Amato and unbridled 14-year-old Tyson were made for each other. Cus needed a new project, and in addition to being a much-needed father figure in Tyson's life, Coach D'Amato developed a style that perfectly matched the physiognomy of the explosive but relatively short Tyson. Mike was undersized as a heavyweight at 5'10", with a 5'11" reach. But on the other hand, he was extremely fast and built like a tank. Cus's peekaboo style suited Tyson perfectly.
That sounds bad. Like, I really thought I was tall. They made me feel small right there. Like, for a small size, 5'10". Like, nigga, that's my height. It's disrespectful. God damn.
Because he had a low center of gravity and was as strong as they come. Tyson's matches in the first phase of his career were a textbook example of peekaboo developed to perfection. With hands in front of his face, his chin low, dipping and weaving where the opponents couldn't reach him, made Tyson almost impossible to hit, and he could counter with arguably the strongest uppercut in boxing history. Mike trained hard and studied boxing extensively, and even though he was still a teenager, his body was almost fully developed. He often fought against older guys and usually knocked them out cleanly after a few rounds.
He was about to give him one.
As an amateur, he won the Junior Olympics twice in 1981 and 82, but still failed to qualify for the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics, and then decided to go pro. On March 6, 1985, he had his first professional fight at the age of 18. His opponent, Hector Mercedes, lasted less than 2 minutes before he fell down, and Mike earned $500 for the fight. Realizing what kind of heavy artillery Mike possessed in his hands, D'Amato had him box very often. By the end of his first year as a professional, Mike's record stood at 15-0, with only one fighter surviving to see round 3. But his fairy tale came to its first turning point. In late 1985, Cus D'Amato passed away, the only real support Tyson had had in his life up to that point. Although the coaching part of the job did not suffer, since Tyson was taken over by D'Amato's assistant Kevin Rooney, the mentor and a father figure disappeared from Mike's life. Many people, including Tyson himself, consider this a crucial moment in his career and life. When Cus died, I was left without direction. After that, my real problems started.
Hey, I mean,
youngest champion ever. Money, fame, and troubles. Tyson had a meteoric rise and already had 27 fights before he got his title shot. In less than 2 years since his pro debut,
What happened right
only
there,
on
Mike?
2 occasions, his opponents survived to see the end of the last round, but they were completely beaten up as a result. On November 22, 1986, at the age of 20, Tyson became the world's youngest heavyweight boxing champion by defeating Trevor Berbick. The fight lasted just 5 minutes and 35 seconds, during which Berbick was knocked to the floor 3 times.
Damn.
With his victory, Tyson delighted the public, and journalists did not waste time comparing him with the greatest champions in the history of the heavyweight category. With a belt around the waist, 26 knockouts, and 28 matches, in which he wasn't even challenged too hard, Iron Mike was in full force.
He just watched
his
that
physical
man
appearance
fold.
was frightening, and so were his attitude and performances, and he instantly became a star. When he made his ring walk in the legendary black shorts and shoes with no socks, with a single ominous tone as the walkout song, he would instill fear in the whole arena, let alone the man he was fighting. In 1987, Tyson unified 3 heavyweight belts, and his rise to the title of the undisputed heavyweight champion was movie-like, and he had the whole world at his feet. He was dominant in the ring. He had great managers that set him up for millions pouring into his bank account, and in 1988, he married actress Robin Givens, then one of the most desirable women in the world. However, the various detours were slowly taking shape, and his demons were starting to make a public appearance. Tyson lived a debauched lifestyle that was not suited for an athlete, and he soon began to crumble. He divorced Robin, his manager Bill Caton left him, and the infamous Don King came in his place. Mike was often partying, drinking, and using drugs.
Don King
he
is
crashed
ugly
several
motherfucker,
expensive cars and tried to kill himself. Still, he continued to win, and his young body still withstood his auto-destructive habits, but he was far from clean. I used a fake penis that worked extremely well for drug tests. It contains...
What? Nigga, no. You can't just throw that out there. What? He said, what?
habits, but he was far from clean. I used a fake penis that worked extremely well for drug tests. It contains someone else's urine. Of course, you just have to hope that the urine is clean, Tyson admitted years later. He was never caught during his career, even though he was a cocaine addict for years and a heavy marijuana smoker. However, he said he never used steroids or any other PEDs, which we believe him. Since he was brutally jacked and ripped even as a young teenager, he indeed was just a freak of nature. What was particularly impressive is the strength
Tyson,
of
a big
neck,
dude,
which
boy.
was key to his stability and apparent invulnerability. His neck muscles were so strong that they successfully absorbed hard blows to the head. Paired with a killer punch, explosiveness, mobility, and having a great coach in his corner, Mike began to look invincible in the eyes of the world and himself. After he won the title, he convincingly defended it 9 times, which is still the third longest reign for a heavyweight champion of the world. By the year 1990, his record stood at 37-0 with 33 knockouts, 17 of them in the first round. At the age of 23, with just 4.5 years in professional boxing, Tyson was considered the most dominant human who ever put on a pair of gloves. Mike had become so dangerous that bookmakers stopped making offers for his fights. When he was supposed to fight Buster Douglas in Tokyo in February of 1990, only one casino in the US offered the odds for the match. The Mirage in Las Vegas rated Tyson as a 42-1 favorite, and if you had put $100 on Tyson, you would only win $3 back if he had won. The biggest upset in boxing history. I didn't want to fight. All I was interested in then was partying and women. Tyson recalled his mood on the plane to Tokyo on January 8th, 1990. He was 15 pounds overweight.
So if all you had to just imagine putting $5 on old buddy and Tyson lost. Bro, you done hit a whole bank on him.
Out of shape and out of focus. Upon arriving in Japan, Tyson continued with his drunken orgies and never took Douglas seriously. The general public had the same perception, and everyone thought that they were going to see another quick beating. When the fight started, Douglas's corner shouted, "Ain't no iron in Mike." Tyson barely moved, and his punches didn't land. And it was Douglas who was controlling the fight with his right jab. After 5 rounds of right-handed shots, Tyson's face was severely swollen. His corner was so arrogant that they came with no equipment to help the swelling subside, and Tyson's left eye began to close. The boxing saying says the most dangerous punches aren't the strongest, but the ones you don't see. and Mike Tyson could no longer see Douglas's strongest punches. All Mike could do was remove the opponent from the ring with one punch. It finally happened at the very end of the 8th round, with a desperation uppercut from Tyson. Douglas was finally where everyone expected him to be, on the ground. The tape delay showed that Buster spent more than 10 seconds in the knockdown, and Tyson should have won the fight if the count started on time. Despite the long get-up, Douglas really seemed ready to continue the match, and his legs were not shaken. A round later, the champion's eye was completely closed, and 2 rounds later, he was trying to find his mouth guard on the canvas. He fell after a series of clean strikes by Douglas, and Tyson's blind stare on his knees is still one of the most mesmerizing scenes in heavyweight boxing. Buster Douglas was the new
Real talk. I never knew that he got knocked the fuck out. Like, to be honest with you, I never knew Tyson got knocked the fuck out. I just thought he just quit and was like, I'm done. I thought he just gave up the belt. I never knew this man got knocked the fuck out. That's how hard I thought this man was really. I thought Tyson was unbeatable. I really thought that. That's just me.
WBC, WBA, and IBF champion.
I really thought this man could not
Tyson
be
blamed the
knocked
referee for counting poorly, but that didn't help him. He told the real truth after his career was over. I didn't care anymore. I no longer felt cuss inside me. Boxing was no longer important to me. No one got up after I knocked him down. Buster did it. Rape allegations, prison, and return to boxing. After the first loss of his career, everything went downhill for Tyson. He did win his next 4 fights and looked like he was poised for a shot to regain his titles, but he would be denied by circumstances outside the ring. Tyson was arrested in July 1991 for the alleged rape of 18-year-old Desiree Washington. 6 months later, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison, with 4 more on probation. There's a lot of things I could have gone to jail for, and I deserve to go to jail for, he said, but this wasn't one of them. I didn't do it, and I will never admit doing it. While serving his sentence, he converted to Islam and took a new name, Malik Abdul Aziz, and after 3 years, he was released from prison for good behavior. Upon his release, he quickly returned to the ring. His first opponent was Peter McNeely in August.
I remember this, and I always thought, like,
of 1995.
You about to get your ass beat up.
Defeated in only 89 seconds. In the next year, he had 3 more victories, and neither fight went past round 3. He won back 2 of his heavyweight belts in a dominant fashion, and everyone was pumped to see Iron Mike back in his usual form. Mike was then ready for some unfinished business, and a big fight against Evander the Real Deal Holyfield. Even though he was the former heavyweight champ, Holyfield was listed as 25-1 underdog because everybody started believing in Tyson's invincibility again. Holyfield had other ideas. Just like Douglas, he did not cave in and did not appear to be the least bit intimidated by the quote-unquote baddest man on the planet. Due to a height, reach, and weight advantage, Holyfield dominated much of the fight, and he actually bullied the big bully. After he landed several big punches, Evander finally knocked Tyson out in the 11th round, after which the defeated Mike angrily accused him of illegal headbutts and demanded a new fight. He was given the opportunity on June 28, 1997, and in a new fight, a moment occurred that would forever mark Tyson's career and be remembered by generations to come. In the 3rd round of the fight, Tyson bit off a part of his opponent's right ear and was immediately disqualified. He was stripped of his boxing license and paid a $3 million fine. I really wasn't interested in boxing. I know I was wrong to bite his ear, but that has nothing to do with sports. I didn't even think when I bit him. I was drugged. I didn't train for that match at all. I should have been home with my family, not in that ring.
Crap.
The last big fight, and a few more shipwrecks. Tyson returned to the ring in 1999, but even though he won 4 more fights, he was no longer that arrogant and aggressive Mike. He had problems with weight and drugs and the law. However, due to his big name, reputation, and promoter interest, he secured a title fight against Lennox Lewis on June 8, 2002. In a fight that would bring him the unification of all the heavyweight belts once again, Tyson looked uninspired and powerless. Lennox Lewis did not give him the slightest chance, dominating the fight from beginning to the end, until he knocked Tyson out in round 8. At the time, it was the most watched boxing match in history in terms of pay-per-view sales, and Tyson admitted that he wanted that fight strictly for the payday, which would be his only motive for the rest of his fighting career. After Lewis, he knocked out Clifford Etienne in the 1st round, which would be his last boxing highlight. He lost his final 2 bouts, where he looked nothing like his champion self, after which he called it quits in 2005. Legacy. Even though the best years for heavyweights usually happen after the age of 25 and last into their 30s, it was the complete opposite for Tyson. His peak happened from the age of 20 to 24, and even just based on those 4 years, there are many people who say that Tyson is the best heavyweight who ever lived. There will always be a huge what-if factor with Tyson. He was arguably the most talented heavyweight ever, and if he hadn't been taking drugs and drank all the time, if he was mentally stable and didn't go to jail, he probably could have dominated another decade of heavyweight boxing. But his legend and his story wouldn't be complete without all the bad stuff that accompanied his career, for which he became the most interesting and charismatic boxing champion ever, alongside Muhammad Ali. Even to this day, for those who have watched him fight, he remains the true baddest man on the planet.
Yeah, that's Tank Tyson. All right, man. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Tyson is top 2 when it comes to, greatest boxers of all time. Tyson is not, I get it. Like, people don't think Tyson is just like dominant like that. I think a lot of people want to say, well, he had all these issues out the ring. So we gonna knock him on that. You can't. I feel like that's something that we knock a lot of athletes on, is what happens on the outside of the ring. And it's kind of sad, because how can something I do outside the ring make me look worse for what I do inside of here? Like, if I cook you on the court, it don't matter if I go home and, sleep alone. I ain't got no wife or kids. You see what I'm saying? If I'm single, you going to dock me on that. If I'm married, you going to dock me on that. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't dock me on stuff that has nothing to do with what I do in the ring or outside the ring, or you get stuff like that. That's all I'm saying. But man, if y'all guys did enjoy this one, man, make sure y'all leave a like, subscribe to this channel, turn your notifications on so you never miss another solid reaction, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.